Everyone thought he was the happiest dog on the street, with his tail wagging non-stop, his eyes shining whenever he saw someone passing through the gate, and that affectionate way that only a real dog has. It seemed impossible to imagine that something was wrong in Thor's life. Thor was a medium-sized mixed-breed dog with black and white spots on his fur, and a gaze that, at first glance, conveyed peace. He was the typical backyard dog that charmed the neighborhood. Always loose, running around the spacious yard of the house where he lived, he was seen as part of the ideal family. A child, a puppy, and a home that seemed happy. But what nobody knew was that behind those eyes there was something that not even barks could tell. Thor arrived at that house as a puppy. He was a birthday present for Luan, an 8-year-old boy who dreamed of having a dog. The day he arrived was a real celebration. Balloons, smiles, hugs. Thor got a new bed, colorful bowls, toys scattered on the floor. Everything indicated that he would have a life full of love and care there. During the first few weeks, Thor was the center of attention. Luan played with him every afternoon. The family laughed at the puppy's antics, recorded videos, and posted photos. It was as if he had filled a void in everyone's heart. But with time, something changed. The playtime began to dwindle. The toys that used to be scattered around the yard were forgotten. The food bowl was only refilled when someone remembered. The videos and photos stopped. And Thor remained there, with the same hopeful look, waiting for that love to return. Outside, the neighbors could still see him running around the yard. He still wagged his tail when he saw someone approaching. But no one noticed the small details. His duller fur, his slight thinness, his eyes that blinked more slowly, as if they carried a contained sadness. It was as if he was always waiting for something that never came. The backyard was large, but it seemed too small for someone who only wanted a little company. The gate was high, but it didn't stop Thor's gaze from the street, as if he were silently pleading for help. And even surrounded by walls, loneliness echoed in every corner. There were days when he would lie for hours near the back door, waiting for someone to come out, to play, to say something, anything, but the door wouldn't open. Silence became part of the routine. The footsteps inside the house no longer came towards him. And yet, he continued to believe. This is one of those stories that seems simple at first glance, but hides a reality that no one likes to see. It's about that kind of silent pain that many animals live with in silence, while humans go on with their lives as if everything is fine. Thor wasn't just another abandoned dog. He was a loyal heart trapped in a routine of absence, waiting day after day for someone to see what everyone else pretended not to see. But not all silence lasts forever. It was on a cloudy afternoon that the first crack in the false perfection began to appear. A neighbor, Mrs. Celia, a retired and observant woman, passed by the front of the house almost every day. She always complimented Thor. What a beautiful dog, always so cheerful. But that day, as she passed through the gate, something bothered her. Thor didn't run to greet her. He was huddled in the corner of the yard, his eyes fixed on the ground and his body soaked by the light rain that was falling. Donna Celia stood there for a few seconds, trying to understand. Where was the blanket, the clean bed he used? Why hadn't anyone brought him inside? That night she didn't sleep peacefully, and the next day she decided to take a closer look. The days went by, and what she discovered broke her heart. Thor spent hours alone, in silence. Food was thrown on the floor. The water was often dirty. The child who once played with him was now rarely seen. The family that had once taken him in had simply forgotten him, but not like someone who loses something. Forgotten, like someone who chooses not to remember. It was as if Thor had gone from being the newest member of the family to just another forgotten object in the backyard. The reality, as cruel as it was silent, hid behind the image of a docile dog. The facade of a loving home concealed an emotional abandonment that was difficult to see and even more difficult to accept. And it's at this point in the story that I need to ask you something. If you've made it this far, it's because this story has touched your heart in some way. And that means you care, that you, like us, believe that animals are not objects, that they feel, suffer, and deserve true love, not just at the beginning, but throughout their lives. So if this story is making you reflect, leave the phrase, "they feel, they trust," in the comments. Let's spread this message. Let's show that there are people who care. Go ahead and click the like button, because that helps this video reach more people, maybe even someone who needs to reconsider how they're treating their pet today. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, subscribe now. Here, we give voice to real, moving stories that often no one wants to tell. Change begins with awareness, and awareness begins with stories like Thor's. But his pain is not over yet. That image of Thor, huddled in the corner of the yard, was just the beginning. Little by little, the small clues that something was wrong began to reveal themselves like silent cries that only attentive ears could hear. The dog that everyone thought was happy was actually fading away, and no one saw it. Thor still wagged his tail, but not with the same intensity. It was as if he had learned to feign joy, as if that automatic movement was his last attempt to get attention, to remind the humans around him that he was still there, still breathing, still needing affection, even if no one else cared anymore. Gradually, even that tail slowed down. In that house where he arrived, surrounded by love, now there was only silence. The walls still held the same smiling family portraits. The garden remained in bloom. The gate was still carefully painted. But Thor lived in the shadows. And the cruelest thing of all was that no one noticed. It was as if he had become part of the decor, an invisible being, ignored in a place where everything seemed to be right. And the truth is, he was never adopted out of love. Thor was bought on impulse, one random afternoon, just because Luan had asked for a dog as a birthday present. It was fashionable among his friends. He looked good in photos. He was fun for the first few weeks. But then it became a nuisance. Thor began to grow. He got dirtier. He demanded attention. He barked when he wanted company. That was all he was, a dog wanting to be seen. But for that house, he became a nuisance. And little by little, he was pushed into the yard, then to the back of the yard, then into oblivion. No one yelled at him. No one beat him. There were no visible marks, and perhaps that's why no one thought anything was wrong. But what Thor suffered was a kind of pain that almost never leaves scars on the body, only on the soul. He would spend entire days staring at the gate, not because I wanted to run away, but because I still believed someone would come, someone would remember. That love would exist there again. He would lie near the kitchen door, even when it rained, and even wet, shivering with cold, he wouldn't budge. Sometimes he would bark softly, a short bark, almost a whisper, as if to say, "Hey, I'm still here." But no one answered. At night, he slept curled up near the garbage bags, because the smell and warmth of the plastic were better than the cold floor. The little bed he'd received as a gift on his first day was already torn, thrown in a damp corner, covered in dust. The food bowls were always empty, or filled with hard, untouched leftovers. When the sun came out, he sought refuge in its warm rays. It was there that he stretched out, trying to warm more than just his body, trying to warm his heart. Mrs. Celia, that observant neighbor, began to notice everything. How often Thor was ignored, the nights he barked and no one came out to see, the birthdays of the child who used to hug him and now passed right by. And she was the first to understand. That puppy was no longer loved. In fact, perhaps he never truly was. It was an accessory for a family that wanted to appear perfect, a symbol of affection that existed only to please the eyes of others, but which deep down received not the slightest attention or respect. And it is precisely this type of abandonment that hurts the most, emotional abandonment. Thor didn't want luxury. He didn't need new toys, he just wanted to be seen again. He wanted to feel a hand on his head, to hear his name called with joy, to lie next to someone and sleep peacefully without fear of being forgotten. But all he received was distance, indifference, silence. And that cold indifference was what no one saw. The truth hidden behind the smiles in the photos, the parties with balloons, the images shared with the caption, "Happy Family." Because the cruelest pain is the one that happens when everything seems to be going well, when suffering is disguised as routine. How many Thors are out there? How many dogs live in beautiful backyards, but with broken hearts? How many are fed just to survive, but are never hugged, looked in the eyes, called by name? How many are, right now, lying in the corner of some house, waiting for a love that never comes? If this story touched you, if you feel something needs to change, comment below. I see you, Thor. Let's show that we're paying attention, that the silent pain of animals will no longer be ignored. If you know someone who needs to hear this, share it. And if you want to support this type of content, leave a like now. This really helps the channel grow and spread these real stories that the world needs to know. But Thor's story is not over yet. Something important is about to happen, and you need to see it. The morning began like any other. A clear sky, the distant sound of children going to school, and Thor lying in his usual corner, watching the movement outside the gate with that same hopeful look that little by little had already turned into a tired one. His tail, which had previously wagged strongly at the slightest sign of attention, now barely moved. It was as if he already knew that nothing would change that day. But it changed. That's when the back door of the house suddenly opened. Thor jumped up, something he hadn't done in weeks. His heart racing, his eyes shining, he believed, today is the day. He ran to the door, wagging his tail like in the old days, hoping for affection, a kind word, anything. But on the other side, there were no smiles. There was haste, there was silence, and a box on the floor. Luan left, now older, more detached, wearing headphones. His mother, without even looking at Thor, carried bags. A smell of change hung in the air. Suitcases in the car trunk, boxes piled in the hallway, and Thor's gaze darted from side to side, confused. All that movement, that coming and going, wasn't normal. He knew it. Something was about to happen. Thor tried to approach Luan's mother just like he did when he was a puppy. He nuzzled his nose against her leg and gently tugged at her dress. But she pushed him away with her foot without even noticing, as if he were an object blocking her path. That afternoon, the move was complete. The family got into the car and drove away without looking back. The gate remained open, the house was empty, and Thor stayed there, alone, waiting for someone who wouldn't return. Time passed slowly. The sun set in the sky, and Thor remained there on the sidewalk as if frozen. The neighbors began to find it strange. 1, 2 days passed, and the house remained empty. But Thor didn't leave the gate. He didn't eat, he didn't drink, he didn't sleep. He just waited. It was on the 3rd day that Donna Celia, the neighbor who had always observed in silence, decided to act. Deep down, she knew this was going to happen, that this family didn't carry true love in their hearts, that Thor was just a part of the decoration of the perfect house they wanted to show the world. But seeing it come true broke something inside her. She crossed the street with a small bowl of food and water. Thor recognized her immediately, but he didn't have the strength to run to her. He just lifted his head, his eyes brimming with tears, as if to say, "I knew you would come." Donatelia crouched down, offered him food, and spoke to him affectionately. And Thor, for the first time in days, wagged his tail, slowly, but he wagged it. That was the first crack in the sadness, the first ray of light after a storm that seemed endless. In the following days, Donna Celia returned. She cleaned the yard. She changed the water. She put an old blanket down for him to lie on. And little by little, Thor began to understand that the pain of abandonment didn't have to be the end of his story. He spent some time under her care until a local NGO, alerted by her, came to help him. The scene of Thor getting into the NGO's car, his eyes still frightened but already a little more alive, was captured on camera. And many people who saw this image on social media couldn't hold back their tears. Yes, he had a fresh start. A new home was found, with people who truly understand what it means to love a dog. People who didn't want a toy to please a child, but a companion to share life with. And today, Thor has everything he always deserved: love, protection, attention, and most importantly, respect. But even with all that, there's something in his eyes that doesn't fade. A subtle shadow, an insecurity that sometimes returns, especially on rainy days. Perhaps because he still remembers the cold, the door that wouldn't open, the food that never came, the days waiting for someone who never returned. Because some pains don't go away completely, and that's where the most real part of this story lies. Abandonment, even when not physical, leaves deep scars. The emotional abandonment of a dog is cruel because, unlike us, they don't understand why. They just feel it, and they wait, because trusting is what they know how to do best. If you've made it this far, I want to make a sincere request. Comment below with the phrase, "They don't forget." This greatly helps the video reach more people and, most importantly, shows that you're the kind of person who cares. If this story touched you, share it with someone. Like the video, and if you're not already subscribed, subscribe now. Here you'll always find stories that show the unseen side of dogs' lives. Real, painful stories, but stories that need to be told. Because Thor was just one among many, and there are still many stories you need to hear.